West Ham 2, Arsenal 2. The best game of the season so far for West Ham. It really was. It was that good. A really, really good day for West Ham in all departments. I'm talking about not only the performance of the players, but I thought the tactics were good. I thought the fans were outstanding. It was really a good day to be a West Ham fan and something we've been crying out for. It actually felt like a little bit of a flashback to the season we finished sixth, the COVID season. Just a really good performance. It just felt great, like an all-round united feeling. It was great, and I'm thrilling day to be a West Ham fan. And of course, totally gone against everything I thought. I mean, I predicted, when we did the preview for this match. I used the words, I had no hope. I had nothing to be hopeful for. I genuinely didn't. In fact, on the way to the game, on the way there, I was convincing myself that a 3-0 defeat actually wouldn't be too bad. I was thinking, if we only lose by 3 goals, actually, if you look at the goal differences, the other teams, that's how much confidence I had going into this game. I had none. I was completely, flat. And this was then further compounded when I saw the lineup. I mean, I looked at the lineup and thought that we're in so much trouble here. Kira coming in because obviously we had no Bonner, we had no Gerd. That was worrying me massively, as I'm sure it was quite a few other fans. When they had Creswell coming in at left back, which I thought was a mistake because of dealing with Saka. Souček back in the middle. There was just so many worries for me in this side, and it was just a worrying lineup, and something that going into the game I was dreading, really was dreading. I will say though, we'll go through the match now. First 5 minutes, I thought we were really good. I thought started off really well, right on the front foot, looking hungry, looking up for the game, putting Arsenal under pressure. Exactly how you wanted to start. I thought that's more like it. That's what I want to see, a bit of encouragement. And then, of course, they go and score early on. Now, the press are kind of, when you watch the press, they were kind of talk about how brilliant Arsenal played. And Arsenal did play really well. They played really well. And I'm talking about their goals. They were exceptional. Very, very good goals. And I think a lot needs to be said for that. I don't think it was all down to poor defending from West Ham. I do think we switched off a little bit. I think that the left-hand side with Creswell and Benrahma, I'm not going to knock them overly too much for it, to be honest, because I think that they haven't played together a lot. Creswell certainly is only, he hasn't played as much as he usually does play in the season. I just think there's maybe a bit of a lapse in concentration or in communication, between the two. But ultimately, it probably was Benrahma's fault. He was losing his mark. He wasn't tracking back enough. Maybe with Emerson, he's used to be more protected. I don't know. But ultimately, we weren't quite at it, and Arsenal just exploited it. The first goal was a very straightforward across the face goal, and Jesus tapped it in. And then 4 minutes later, they were 2 up with an exceptionally good goal when Martinelli floats a lovely cross over to Odegaard, who volleys it in. They were both really good goals. I mean, it was painful. And at this point, let's be honest, I don't think there was any West Ham fan at this point that had any confidence. I mean, I genuinely thought, oh my God, that all the nightmares are coming true. This is we are going to get absolutely annihilated here. That's all I could see. I just thought this is going to be an absolute. It could double figures. I was that worried, looking at the exits, thinking, oh my God, when can we get out of here? How long we got? I was very, very, very concerned. But one thing that's very, very encouraging, and I was pleasantly surprised with, was the fact that the fans didn't turn at all, really. I mean, there might have been the odd person, displeasure, whatever, but ultimately the fans were very united behind the team, even behind the manager. I don't think many fans were getting it. It actually felt the atmosphere was good. It didn't, don't get me wrong, we weren't singing and shouting, but no one was getting angry, no one was turning. It was just a bit of, okay, let's deal with it. Arsenal, on the other hand, as you'd expect, was like a carnival over there. They were giving us so much stick. Are you Tottenham in disguise? Are you here to watch the Arsenal? It was horrible to listen to, horrible to deal with. But something we had to just swallow, and deal with, and thought, right, let's just see how we get on. Now, the press, as typically as these games are, we've got a draw. You kind of expect them to lean towards the whole notion of, well, Arsenal bottled it, they gave it away. It must have been an Arsenal disaster for West Ham coming back into it. But West Ham played well. We responded to those goals well. We didn't crumble. And that is a huge testament to this side. And I've got to say, fair credit to the manager as well. I mean, I've given Moyes enough stick on this channel over this season. There's lots of people have, but fair play. I'm really pleased that the players looked like they were fighting for David Moyes and the badge or whatever, because they really did, and we didn't crumble. because you'd forgive them. You know, you'd expect them to. I mean, we just lost 5-1 to Newcastle a couple of weeks ago at the same ground. You know, under similar circumstances as well, conceding 2 early goals, but we just didn't give in. We were up for it. And what was really interesting about that was that when we did start to get ourselves slightly back into the game a little bit, because Arsenal didn't play badly. Please don't. I mean, that's the way the press is sort of saying it. They went 2 up and started to play badly. They didn't. All they sort of did was probably just slow down their intensity a little bit. And I kind of understand it a little bit. I kind of get it, because they're probably thinking, well, I'm not going to break my neck. We're kind of cruising to a victory here. We only need another goal. We don't need to kill ourselves to get it. We'll get it in time. I think that was the kind of feeling. As I say, Arsenal fans are jumping up and down, singing around and going crazy. But once we started to get our foothold on the game, started to actually, make our mark, suddenly the songs were dying down at the Arsenal end. It really started getting quiet, and you could sense the nerves were kicking in. This is before we scored. And I don't know whether it just feels like that West Ham sort of just as fans, as players, whatever, we just took advantage of it. We could sense they were getting nervous, because we had the corner, we were starting to put a bit of pressure on them. And then we obviously get a goal, and we got a goal courtesy of a penalty. So Arsenal were playing the ball out a little bit lackluster from them. They weren't really switched on. So Thomas Partey gets the ball, and basically Declan Rice sniffs it out. He knows that the players, he's just not alert enough. He's too casual. He takes the ball on. Declan Rice nips in, takes the ball. There's arguments for a handball. I think they're clutching at straws with that one. Takes the ball, lays it off to Paqueta. Paqueta then goes round his man, Gabriel, and he catches him, and it's a penalty. It is a penalty. I mean, Arsenal fans, a lot of pundits are saying it's very soft. That's what I keep reading about, actually, seeing in the press, is how soft this penalty was. At the end of the day, he caught him. It wasn't that bad. I mean, okay, you could probably argue maybe he was going for it, Paqueta. Well, yeah, okay, but so what? He caught him. So, I mean, okay, it was soft. I'm not saying it was, oh my word, it was a clear-cut, absolute awful penalty. But for my opinion, and obviously I appreciate I'm West Ham, but they either get given or they don't, and we got it given. So at the end of the day, caught the player. I had no problems with that. And obviously Ben Rama slots it away. At this point, that was when the game turned completely. You could sense then, Arsenal was silent. The fact that carnival atmosphere was gone. I think they probably chanted twice or 3 times maybe after that for the rest of the game. They were really quiet, and you could sense they were very nervous. And West Ham, obviously, the tables had turned. West Ham were very noisy at this point now. The stadium was absolutely rocking. One of those days where it puts to bed sometimes that notion that London stadiums are quiet. It's it doesn't offer much of an atmosphere, etc., etc. Well, yesterday was rocking. It was really loud, very noisy, and a wonderful experience to be a part of it. And then we had it. Then we go into half time at 2-1 down. Now, what's really interesting is where I sit right by the this famous wall where they block the between the home fans and the away fans in the West Stand. I'm not far from that. Okay, and so when I go down to the concourse for half time, if you're playing some other away teams that, let's say, are beating you, you tend to hear it's very noisy in their end. They're jumping around as West Ham fans do, and we're away. They like to enjoy themselves and give it plenty, and probably try and intimidate further. Enjoy them, they're on an away day, and that's how it goes. It was silent. It was absolutely silent. You wouldn't even have known there was a fan in there. You couldn't hear anything. There was no Arsenal singing at all. They were nervous. They were absolutely nervous, and it filtered down. The fans' nerves were in the players. It was in the manager. You could sense it. And that's what was going on. And there's no denying it, because the second half starts. What West Ham are like the first half, and like many games this season. This is our most vulnerable time. It seems to be right at the beginning of matches or beginning of halves. It seems to be where we switch off. We're not quite on it. And I remember, and people I was with, I was saying, look, as long as we just don't concede early on, let's just not concede. Please don't concede, because we can get something from this match. And then, a few minutes in, penalty. Now, we just talked about the Paqueta penalty. And as I say, that's the one that seems to be what's in the press a little fair bit, which is typical. But they don't seem to mention the Antonio one. Now, I'm not arguing the Antonio one, because I do think it's a penalty. I do think, if it had been the other way around, I think, yeah, fair enough, I would have said, yeah, it's a penalty. However, if you're going to argue the Paqueta one, then you've got to argue that one, because Antonio's not doing that at all deliberately. He's turned around with his eyes shut, done that, and it's hit his hand. Again, like the Paqueta one, yeah, you win some, you lose some. Sometimes you get given, sometimes you don't. So I actually thought that was, yeah, of course, being a West Ham fan, I thought, well, it was a bit harsh, a little bit harsh, but I'm not going to argue it too much. So I thought, well, no, I have seen them given though. So anyway, Arsenal obviously get given this penalty, and you're thinking, here we go. Just as we said, don't concede early. They're now going to score and probably go on to win 5-1. That was on my mind anyway, and I'm sure there was many others that felt the same. And Saka, the nerves get to Saka, and he smashes it wide, thankfully. And I mean, that in itself was like a goal. I mean, Arsenal completely can't. Their fans. I mean, obviously, I've got a very clear view of their fans. They were just, head in hands. They knew that this was really a big miss. That was a big opportunity miss, that, because ultimately that changed the game. That could have changed the game. If Arsenal got the 3-1 up, I really think we'd have struggled to get back into it. Don't get me wrong. I think we were playing well, but I think it would have been very similar to the Newcastle. It probably would have just killed us. Considering the fact we were really trying to get back in the game. So it was like a goal when it was missed. And then, of course, there was a goal. 2 minutes later, I believe it was. Theo Kira, who was excellent, by the way. I'll come on to player ratings in a bit. Comes and lofts a ball, basically sort of into no man's land, really. Well, not no man's land, in between the goalkeeper and the defence. So there's been an attack, and then it's come back to Kira. He's just sort of floated the ball over. Arsenal are not really aware of Bowen. He's just sort of creeping in behind. He's just watching the ball as it comes over and just hits it on the volley. Beautiful volley, hits it beyond Ramsdale. Well, Ramsdale gets a hand to it, pushes it onto the post, and it goes in. Brilliant goal. Brilliant, proper typical Jarrod Bowen goal. Great to see it for him. And my word, he deserved it. And I'll talk about him in a minute. But wonderful moment. And I mean, the place was absolutely rocking. It was amazing atmosphere. People were going crazy, and it was just brilliant to see West Ham. I mean, my word, we've needed some lifts this season, but that was something special. I mean, it really felt like a bit of a flashback for the last couple of years ago. It just felt like when we finished sixth, the European season, when we've just done so well, it just felt like that again, like a really good performance and really well deserved, and great goal from Bowen. And I'll be honest now, at this point, I think we're going to go and win the game. I actually think we were going to go and win it. I'm not moaning that we didn't, because it was still a fantastic result, but I genuinely felt we were going to go and win it. We had a couple of opportunities too. There was one when Jarrod Bowen came through on goal, and he then cuts on the left-hand side to fire it across to Ramsdale's sort of far post, but it was blocked. But it was a very good block, actually. I think it was Gabriel actually blocked it, but very, very good. And ultimately, that was a big chance for us. And then there was a big moment as well when Antonio hit the bar. Ball comes coming over. I think it was Ben Rama. Floats actually whips a corner, a crossing, and Antonio, because he's not running and meeting the ball, he's struggling to adjust himself to where he wants to go. I think if he'd been coming to meet it, it'd been slightly different, but he's not doing that. He's kind of stationary, really. He just nods it against the bar. I actually think he might have been offside as well, but whatever. We were the team on top. Second half, West Ham were by far the better side. Really, really did play well. And what reminds me of this is like the Fulham game, in a sense. I'm not trying to say it's similar in terms of matches, but in terms of our defending, Arsenal didn't really threaten that much. Apart from the 2 goals, they didn't really threaten. There was one opportunity in the second half with Jesus when the ball was cut across and he sort of slid in, but he was just slightly too behind it. He couldn't meet it. And there was Saka as well. He weaved in and hit a shot at Fabianski. It was actually quite a tame one. Apart from that, they didn't really do a lot. They really did struggle to break us down, which is so encouraging and gives you good hope. And that was it. We saw the game out. It finished 2-2, and it was a day that I'm still pinching myself. I genuinely did not see that coming. And what's really encouraging about it as well, which I'm sure fans will, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. It's given me so much hope now. It really has lifted my spirits for this season. I look at that table now, I feel quite confident. I was looking at it thinking, we'll stay up now. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm pretty sure we will stay up. I'm not being arrogant with it. I'm not saying that, we've still got a job to do. There's a long way to go. But with a performance like that, you think, yeah, that was very good. A perfect performance. Dare I say it, and I don't want to go too far with this, so I've got to be quite careful. It could be a big turning point for West Ham. We needed something like that. We've needed something like that all season, a big performance, a big result. Not just for this season, but I'm talking in general, in terms of going forward as a club, start feeling a bit more united, a bit more encouraged about things, a bit more together. And that really felt like that could have been it. It was a really, really good performance from West Ham, and I'm absolutely thrilled. Really, really thrilled. So what I want to talk about now is in the players. So what we want to do is when we do these reviews is pick sort of the top 3 players, and obviously number 1 being the man of the match. Now, this is going to be the first time we do this, because this is a new sort of feature we want to do on the channel. First game we do it with, I genuinely am really struggling to find pick out the 3 players, because there were so many good performers out there for West Ham. It really was one of them days where I was so pleased throughout the pitch. I thought they were excellent. Really, really excellent. So I'm going to pick out 3 players now, but I will sort of touch on others as well, because I think I can't sort of ignore some of the performances out there today that were just fantastic. So what I'll do is I'll pick my first 3 and then I'll talk some others first. So, right, what I'll do is start with my third one. Our third one for me was Tio Kehrer. I thought he was absolutely excellent today. For a player that's come under a lot of scrutiny from West Ham, and rightly so, he makes too many mistakes. I've been very worried about him, actually, thinking, especially when I saw that lineup, when I saw him playing alongside Zuma, I was really, really concerned. But my word, what a performance from him. He was solid. He was excellent. Don't get me wrong, I probably slightly switched off on the goals, maybe, could have done better. But as I've said, he's only just come into the team. I'll kind of give him a little bit of leeway. And as I've touched on as well, I thought that Arsenal's goals were very good. So I think it'd be harsh to criticise him for those. I thought overall, though, he was very, very good. Number 2 for me was Vladimir Coufal. Brilliant performance from him. He was absolutely brilliant. That was the Coufal we've known and love. And what a performance from him. And so great to see him back at that level, playing at that, because it does make such a difference to West Ham to have him playing like that. He was excellent. He was getting stuck in, showed the passion that we love to see. And it was brilliant from him. And his link-up play with Bowen and it was just really was a joy to watch. Thrilled with him and thrilled for him as well, because he's had injury issues and struggled to get back to form, and you kind of felt like what happened to the player that we had, but that was his back to his best, and it was so great to see. But man of the match for me, and this has actually now been officially man of the match, but for me it was always Jarrod Bowen. He was just exceptional yesterday, and I'm not just talking about the goal. Everything, he did not stop running. He worked his socks off. He works his socks off pretty much every match. Well, he does every match. But yesterday was it really was eye-catching. It was amazing watching. He was great on the ball. He was doing the defensive work. I think at one point as well, he cleared the header. There was an Arsenal attack, and he nodded the ball out for a corner. And he threw it, and in the process fell into the net. He had to be dragged out the net, but helped out the net by his teammates. He's a winger, who then goes on and gets us the equaliser. A wonderful performance from him, and I'm so pleased for him, because he's had a lot of certainly not stick, because he's well supported by West Ham, but you feel for him because of the whole World Cup situation. He got into the England squad, didn't make the World Cup. I think it really damaged him, and he just hasn't looked the player. Before the World Cup, he wasn't right. You could sense things weren't quite right with him. And for him to play at that level against the league leaders, get that goal. I was absolutely thrilled with Jarrod Bowen. But so that was my man the match. However, I do want to say I can't leave it without mentioning other players. Declan Rice again was exceptionally good. Really, really good performance from him. He bossed that midfield, and my word, will Arsenal be looking at him now? Oh, I mean, if there was any lingering doubts from Arsenal fans or from Mikel Arteta whether he's the man and they want to sign this summer, then that was put to bed, because he was the best midfielder by a long way. He was far better than Thomas Partey, but far better yesterday. Lucas Paqueta, another really good performance from him. I'm actually really starting to be very encouraged by Paqueta now. I've had my doubts about him. Not so much in doubts in thinking he won't succeed, but had my doubts in terms of when this is going to happen. I don't think he's clicked yet. I'm thinking he's not quite doing it yet, but he played really well. He looked really, really good. Moyes pulled out the 3 midfielders. I have to give credit to Souček as well. Probably, he wasn't the best out there today. He wasn't the best, but he did put in a shift. He worked hard, and at the end of the day, when you've got the midfield of Arsenal, and then get a team that are winning the league at the moment, leading the league, and we dealt with them very well. We were the better side. We bossed that midfield, and that was very encouraging. Yeah, that was it for me. They were the honest. Oh, sorry, and Mikel Antonio. A brilliant performance from him as well. Really encouraged with him. He worked so hard. It was a really good day for West Ham. Really was a good day. And one I genuinely now start to feel that we can push on from as a football club. I'm encouraged. Our towels are up. If we can play at that kind of level throughout the rest of the season, we will be more than safe. And let's be honest, if we play that level in Europe, we'll win that trophy. It was that good. Very, very good day, and very good day for everyone connected with the club. And fair play as well to David Moyes, because I've given him a lot of stick. I've been very against him in some of the decisions this season, and the team selections I've been appalled with, and tactics, but he got it right. He got it right. The players, and what I loved about the players are behind him. The players played really, fought hard, which is a very encouraging sign. That is a sign of a team that is behind the manager, which is something we haven't really seen enough. We haven't seen this team really click and really work hard. It's always been, yeah, we've got the odd results and bit here and there, but ultimately we've never really. There's not been many games this season where you've come away going, "Oh, we performed really well." But that was one. That was one we did, and as I've said earlier, right at the beginning of the video, I think that was the performance of the season, and yeah, delighted.